Welcome back to Granja Caimito in the Pedroche Valley of Andalusia, Spain. This time we are going to build a real fence, amongst a few other things. At some point we also need to go through this pile of scrap metal. Some of it is definitely waste, but other pieces are material and we can use them. There's also this. This is definitely not waste. It is worth €800 because we had it made. This cone is to make biochar. We had this idea a while ago but never got around to actually try it. So this needs a hole at the bottom so that the water from making the biochar can flow out. And the cone is to create this fire lit so that the rest turns into char instead of getting burnt completely. So I'm looking forward to give this a try, but there is no time just yet. We have received some more bags of seed. The contents are for establishing the grasses and other plants that are typical for a Spanish dehesa. It is dark anyway because of the clouds and the rain, but this is the dust from the Sahara. They call this kalima, and it is not something that happens here frequently. In the Canary Island, yes it does, but around here it does not. So therefore it is a very nice thing to document that we had this. But tonight there's going to be rain and therefore there is no reason to clean this up manually. But as I'm standing here, I can also tell you this other story. And as you can see, this is not a professional installation. This is a makeshift thing, and it has working for a while now, but eventually this will all be put on a stanchion and or a roof, and there will be a lot more solar panels. So this looks pretty bad, but it is working. Those panels produce some 4 kilowatt on a regular day. They could be more. They are 33 watt panels and they are 16 of them. So it could be a little bit more, but 4,000 is what we usually get. And it is enough for the moment. But for future plans we definitely need more. And of course the world is now moving to all electric. And internal combustion engine is on the way down, so we definitely should have enough power generation here because we are not connected to any grid. So the power we use is the power we have to produce ourselves, which is kind of nice because it makes us completely independent, and except for the cost of installing that, there is no further cost further down the line. So that is extremely nice. Of course they need to be clean, but that's what the rain will do. Over the last few days, guys have also been cleaning up this. They have put all the stones that were lying here from that stone wall back onto it, and thankfully the older Juan has experience with that, so he was able to instruct the other two how to do this properly. And now we have a cleaned up area here, and the stones are where they're supposed to be, and the wall is looking nice. Of course this is not very stable. An animal that pushes onto it will topple it, but pigs, and that is why they exist, they won't, because the pig roams down there, while a cow would just push against those loose stones on top. But these stone walls are typical for the area, and it's kind of protected also as a national monument or something like that, which is nice. So whenever there is an opportunity to use this and maintain it, then we are kind of supposed to do that, and that is what happened. There is still a little bit missing, So if I pan around and go to the other side, there are still a few loose stones on the ground, but they will also find their way onto that wall. And this is how this new area to make compost looks like. So now that we have this spent straw, and thanks to one of you who suggested that, we are now putting that spent straw step by step here in this area. Makes this area less muddy, and also it creates material. So we are turning waste into a resource. Eventually these water rats will disappear here, and this will just be an animal lane and not a gathering place anymore. What we are planning to do as we move forward is we want to open up this a little bit. So instead of having that gate here, we will unfortunately have to cut a little bit out of this wall, and then there will be an animal lane following this wall. And what is in the way is the dog enclosure there behind the tree that will then also move. And then we have to cut, unfortunately, the wall again behind those boulders, so that the animals can get into the area where we have the sorting facility. Because the big game plan is that all the animals that are in zone C and following will come for water and supplemental feed down to the compound. That of course has an impact on nutrient distribution, yes, I know, but on the other hand, up there in the more remote places, there is a risk of tuberculosis and maybe other pathogens. So we better have them come to us instead, that we provide all this stuff up there, and makes management also a little bit easier. And as we are rotating them and it's just a walk to get water or some additional feed, I think it's not so bad. And of course practice will then show us how it goes, but at least the idea is to turn this into this animal lane. What we have right now is also a temporary thing. This is the corral for the calves. They are being introduced to some supplemental feed so that they are ready for the sad period during summer when there is no forage. And we will not have enough because we are trying to fix the problem so that eventually we have, but it won't be this year, unfortunately. We have a little bit more, I hope, but not enough to actually feed all of them. So this is just work in progress, but the idea is that here they will find their additional feed, and there's also a holding area for some situations, but eventually this will be narrower so that it's a lane. And as I was speaking about the dust covered solar panels over there, the idea is to put some arcs on top of this lane here and put solar panels on top of that, and maybe have also some of those panels look to the east, which is over there. So when the sun comes up over those trees, we get some power generation early on. So at the moment we have to wait almost till 11 to have some decent power generation going on, but maybe we can put this a little bit forward so that from 9 o'clock on we have some power generation. That's an experiment, I'm not really sure, but at least when we have a structure here, then we can try this with a few panels and see whether it's worth to put more panels to that use. And of course those solar panels on top of an animal lane make use of an otherwise unproductive area. So if I show you this here, so imagine on top of this lane where they trample everything and nothing will grow, instead we generate power. That would definitely be a positive thing. And of course right here they will quickly disappear under the trees, but in other cases that is not so. So we can definitely produce a lot more power here. And I'm not saying that is what we are going to do, but I did a napkin calculation, and in theory we could generate some 8 megawatts just by covering all the animal lanes with solar panels. And as I know that in some places people are even growing vegetables below solar panels, so that is something to entertain in the future, because everything seems to be going electric, and the more you can generate, the better it is. And the panels determine how much power we have. So as there is no grid connection, we better find ways how to scale our own production. And I doubt very much that someone will give us a cable and a grid connection, be it for our consumption or for selling the power. That would be nice, but that I don't think will happen anytime soon. So that is a plan to make use of otherwise unproductive areas. We will see. But at least down here in the compound, for our own needs, think about refrigeration and things like that, we can definitely make use of this idea and put it to work. Once again, we let the horses graze the grass here in the compound. It's better than to use a machine. They are being fed and there is maintenance being done. It's a win-win situation. And the grass has been growing very, very tall, so it was about time. The guys want to mix concrete here to set some additional fence posts. This is now the project to enclose our soon bee to make it pig ready.
They are figuring out the trajectory with the help of a string. Every year there is a window of opportunity. After some heavy rainfall for a prolonged period of time, the soil gets soft enough so that the auger can displace the stones and drill a hole. But as you can see, some manual intervention is still necessary. And now it is time for the fence post on the other side. We did research many options, but to get a real good solution, we need a tractor. And we don't really have a need for a tractor. So it makes no sense to buy an expensive machine just to run an auger. So for the time being, we are stuck with that and maybe some other tricks to make it a little bit easier in places where it is really difficult.
Una lombriz. Ya una lombriz, ¿has visto? Eso es bueno.
Yes, that is very positive. Just the same as Angel said. This little guy came out of a depth of maybe 20 centimeters, maybe 30. but the hole isn't done just yet.
Va a ser difícil que se haga eso.
At home, the guys watched a lot of English language videos on YouTube to learn how to set fence posts and how to build a fence of that style. The material, like the wooden fence posts, is sold to the municipalities to make a park in the village center look nice, but nobody really uses this around here out on a farm or on a ranch.
I would think that is due to the horses and their manure. We have a lot of nettles in all places that you can imagine, and they are thriving. So right here on that wall there are many. Behind the truck there are more, and we can also see that here on the neighbor side things are looking a little bit better. Not as well as on our side there in the background, but this is basically what we lose. Benefits a little bit the neighbor, but then of course that is that neighbor with the continuous grazing of a lot of cows, and therefore it does not really develop well. And if I pan around a little bit and zoom in there, you might be able to see how poor that looks. So some of you guys have been asking about this or saying that now we will see the difference, and yes, we do see the difference now with the rain and a little bit of sunshine in between. It definitely shows that something is going on our side, so that's a positive thing. Right now the sky is cloudy like that, and for the next 2 or 3 days the forecast from tomorrow on is for sun, but the long-term forecast after that says rain and rain and rain. We don't know how much rain it's going to be, but at least it talks about rain, so that is a good thing. And the guys are in the process of setting up those H fence posts, those edges, and to make an L shaped here, so that we also have a fence line going to the right, and it works. And I mentioned this before, I guess this is going to be a paddock in the future, so the yellow part here. And also we had a lot of rain. This does not really fill up, but from previous videos it does fill up when there is a lot of rain. So I think last year in January this was full and it was even frozen, so it can fill up.
Mira, lo más para arriba.
Un momentito.
¿Es full aquí?
Es que está el poste doblado, ¿sabes?
¿Con esta tenemos para aquella o no? Sí, ¿no?
Está perfecto.
Es que es su postura, porque aquí está...
Ah, claro, es que tiene su posición.
Está, ¿cómo le
Súbete un
llamamos?
momentito.
Biselado.
Un poquito más alto, pero es que no entra más. Vamos, que son 12 centímetros.
Ahí. piedra.
Puede tener Juan, que no se mete mucho.
Todavía.
No se mete mucho. Ahí, ¿no?
Echa otra poca. Así si echamos vamos a tener.
¿Cómo va?
Menos mal que por bolos de estos tenemos que ir muy lejos.
Menos mal que tenemos piedras por todos lados. Pues ahora, que apoya por lo menos 2 centímetros aquí y todo allí.
Vale. Hay que ir por la máquina, ¿no?
Sí, sí, hay que ir por la máquina.
Y bueno, se hace primero aquel de allí. Ya que está allí la máquina, ¿no?
¿Dónde está la máquina?
En aquel lado.
This piece is going to be the brace between the sticker posts.
Hacer el agujero de la máquina, ¿no? Y por ejemplo, para que esté aquí el poste lo tienes que hacer así.
Mira, esto va aquí, ¿no? O aquí. Aquí. Y aquí hay que hacer agujero. Ahí.
Aquí la punta.
Aquí. Aquí agujero. Aquí así, que pille un poquito aquí así. Y aquí. Ahí lo agujero. Trae yo lo hago.
¿Qué lo vas a poner? ¿Pegado a la pared el poste?
Juan, el hilo va por este lado. Este poste tiene que ir. ¿Dónde está el poste?
Aquí.
Sí, tiene que ir en este lado, ¿no?
Tiene que ir así. Claro. Sin tocar el hilo.
Claro.
Ahí.
Sí, sí, yo lo que te estoy hablando no es de la distancia del hilo.
Entonces,
Te estoy hablando de que cuando tú hagas el hueco,
sí.
esto por ejemplo va aquí.
Sí, son 2 metros.
Son menos de 2 metros.
Sí. Un poquito menos que le he dado.
Y ahora tú cuando hagas el hueco es
Sí.
más grande que el poste.
Sí.
No es igual que el poste. Entonces tú cuando, por ejemplo, se tendría que quedar, el círculo tendría que hacer más para acá, para que tenga margen de cemento aquí, margen de cemento aquí, ¿sabes? Que no le puedes hacer el hueco a ras del sitio, porque si no se te va a quedar...
El poste tiene que
El
ir
poste
ahí.
tiene que ir ahí. Un poquito más para acá.
Bueno, lo bueno es que se puede cortar luego el poste del medio, que no tiene por qué ser de 2 metros, sí o sí.
Esto va aquí.
Ahí mismo, ahí.
Esto va ahí. Ahí la máquina. Ese poste lo que está más doblado. Está muy doblado, pero bueno. Uy, pero doblado.
Pero bueno, eso da igual, porque cortarle a este no le afecta, ¿no? Ahí están empujando el hilo.
Ya.
Piedra chica, ¿eh?
Mira que son mucho. Son mucho. Estas son mucho. Esta. ¿Me voy con la remezcla?
Usa muy bien con la mezcla, ¿no? Vale.
¿Habéis probado? A ver si se va a quedar corto esto. ¿Habéis probado?
Juan, corto no se va a quedar en la vida, porque se puede recortar. Además, como le echamos las piedras, que me lo mováis.
It does appear that we have learned how to build a fence. So here in the foreground we have those thicker wooden fence posts. They get a piece of wood in the middle so that they form an H. That is to provide the counterbalance when the wire mesh that gets installed gets tensioned, and the other fence posts that are smaller in diameter, they are just there to keep the wire mesh in place. And there at the end there is another H, and it will become an L going to the right, so that we can also install the other segment. So this is the beginning of the pig safe part that we want to use to do the experiment with 5 male non-castrated without a nose ring pigs. And we want to practice how to seed with pigs and learn how to manage a larger number of pigs that we rotate through the land in the future. So this is a scaled down experiment for something that we believe might be beneficial and also very productive.
That was it for today. Thank you for watching. Please come back in a few days to see how our work continues. This lush grass here is in the wannabe food forest where we had planted the watermelons during summer. They were delicious. And now green grass comes up.